Chapter 18. 3 Imaginary Boys. My name is Sarah Park. For the longest time now, I've just gone by the semi-anonymous nomenclature of Miss Park, Countingdon High School's librarian. People rarely ask who I was before now. It's a convenient role to hold in the world. Someone with keys, a barcode scanner, and a quiet presence. No one ever really wonders how a person becomes the keeper of silence. But we don't all start out with jobs, job descriptions, neat little explanations. Between childhood and adulthood is a messy period, a tumultuous formation of who you will become, based on the raw materials invested in the child and the experiences they endure through high school. High school. For some, it will all become nostalgia. First kisses, sporting victories, framed photos in oval cutouts passed along to family members once a year. Me? Well, I wasn't popular. That's not a tragic origin story. It's just a fact. I wasn't bullied. I was ignored, camouflaged in corridor corners, noticed only when someone needed a pen or a punchline. For others, high school is something else entirely, something to survive, a testing ground of savagery. I still see it every year. It goes on and on and on, heaven and hell. Back then, I was just a girl with half a dozen books under one arm and a denim jacket patched with logos of bands no one else liked. I wasn't Miss. I was missing. I was see-through Sarah. I liked Coleridge and Kerrang, Shelley and Slayer. I made notes on bands' lyrics in the margins of my homework, waiting to be free, lonely and forlorn. But I had music, and music had me. I lived side by side with my cassettes and my vinyl, and music spoke louder about my feelings than I ever felt capable of doing. Music showed me things. It showed me the world, but also history, imagination, beauty, and power. It took the dry pages of the classroom textbook and set the edges of them on fire. Gave them purpose, meaning, passion. No more nice time, bright boy, shoe shines, pie in the sky dream. In the late 1980s, to love heavy metal was to place yourself outside of society and volunteer to be a shadow. Rage against the dying and the highlights. Ha, ha, ha. See? It's funny because, never mind. You either get it or you don't. Heavy metal seldom showed me boring Newtown life and a destiny of conformity. It showed me everything besides, but not that. So it was that not just music, but heavy metal became my friend. Not the kind of friend you'd sit with at lunch or call after school. The kind that waits for you when the waking hours are over. The kind that plays in your ears while you hide in the library stacks. That soundtracks your flights of fancy. The kind that screams out loud when you can't. Iron Maiden taught me about the fall of empires. Metallica gave me language for loneliness. Judas Priest let me believe that strength and flair could live within me. I wore black because I wanted to disappear, and patches on my battle jacket because I wanted to declare both at once. A contradiction. A girl, but not the right kind. Too bookish. Too intense. Too odd. Heavy metal didn't mind. It welcomed the intensity, the obsession. It asked nothing of me but allegiance. And that's how I found Matthew Belton. It happened on a Wednesday in January 1989. I was on my way to the library after last period. I always took the long route past the art block, the back stairs, and the music room. It was quieter. Fewer kids, fewer comments. That's where I heard it. A clean, mournful guitar tone. Familiar, deliberate. The intro notes to One by Metallica. Just the first few bars. Not a full song. Not blasting from someone's Walkman. This was live. Played. By hand. I slowed down. The door to the music room was open just an inch. And there he was. Matthew. Sat alone on a classroom chair. Guitar in lap. Hunched slightly forward in concentration. His hair fell into his eyes, and his fingers moved slowly but precisely over the frets. No distortion, no showboating, just that haunting beginning. Before I could move, 3 boys barreled past me, laughing and shoving one another. This was my first encounter with the rest of Mantilla. That was the first time I heard the name spoken. The drummer had it scrawled across his bag in Typics. Mantilla, behind the veil. I stayed. I didn't want to miss where this might go. So I stood in that doorway, smiling at him. He could see nothing past the music he was playing. I crept closer to the narrow window beside the practice room and sat cross-legged behind the glass. I listened to the rest of the band too, as they played along. They weren't brilliant. They weren't tight. The bassist kept looking at his fingers. The drummer missed a few fills. But it didn't matter. They were loud. They were real. They meant it. And it was the first time I had ever seen heavy metal performed live. Not on vinyl, not on VHS, here in the school in real time. It changed everything. Every time the boys met in the music room, I tried my best to be there. I'd pretend I needed to return a book to the library en route, or that I'd left something behind earlier. Sometimes I didn't pretend at all. I just felt the confidence to walk the corridors like they belonged to me, slipped in behind the glass, and took my usual spot. They leaned on each other, they learned from each other, and they got better. Slowly, week by week, the shouts became harmonies, the muddled solos tightened. They started improvising their own intros. I was with them every step of the way. At first, I left little things. A folded note with a couplet of lyrics finished off when they were stuck. A band logo suggestion. A tape with the best tracks queued up, nothing fancy. Just ideas. Inspiration. Then, over time, more directly, I clapped when they finished a full song without restarting. I propped a Mantilla banner behind the drum kit before practice, silver paint on a navy background. I corrected the spelling on their demo cover before I did the photocopying for 24 copies. They seemed to like my contribution. Nobody ever told me to stop. Sometimes Matthew would glance my way through the glass. He never really waved, but he didn't look away either. Once, he nodded. Just once. It felt like an entire conversation. There was a student council for events. A handful of Year 11s who planned end-of-term parties, took suggestions for the canteen, and ran polls about which songs should play at the disco. This was Mantilla's chance. I overheard them talking one afternoon. Something about finally playing a real show. One with a stage, lights, maybe even a proper audience. They were half joking, dreaming aloud, but I saw it. The ambition in Matthew's eyes, the way the others leaned forward when he spoke. They wanted it, and I knew I could make it happen. The summer dance was being held in the main hall, the one with the long glass windows that overlook the library. I imagined the sound echoing through those windows, rattling the shelves, metal echoing through the institution. So I started my campaign. Mantilla, Feast of Corpus Christi. I filled out more voting slips than I care to admit. Different pens, different handwriting styles. I even misspelled mantilla on a few just to make it look authentic. The events committee must have thought every student in the school wanted to see them perform. And why wouldn't they? They were getting so good, tight, focused. The setlist was solid. Metallica, Iron Maiden, Led Zeppelin. It was going to be amazing. This was going to be their moment. Mine too. Just as I'd once noticed Matthew sitting alone in the music room, quietly playing his guitar, I knew he was noticing me now. I smiled at him from behind the glass. He saw me. I waved when I saw him in the yard. He saw me. A flick of the wrist. A nod through headphones. I'd leave out for him things I'd found that I thought rocked. We were dancing under the same moon. I made sure we were always listening to the same tapes, or as close as I could get. I'd match the cassettes I saw him carry, tape the vinyl I'd bought to share. So if he said, "I can't find the words," I could answer, "My mind is dead. It's better by you, better than me." He knew, I knew, we had our own language, hidden, sacred. "Guess you'll have to tell her how I tried." He'd hum under his breath while walking past, and I'd catch it like a secret, to speak up the thoughts I held so long inside. Matthew didn't need to tell me anything directly. Heavy metal was doing it for him. I saw him, I heard him, I understood him. And soon the whole school, the whole town, the whole world would love him like I did. Mantilla was going to play at school, and I was going to be right there. On the day of the dance, I knew my life was going to change forever. I was expecting romance. I wasn't expecting violence, or silence, or shame. I was expecting rock and roll dreams, the glory of metal. That feeling when the stage lights catch the smoke just right, and your favorite band plays your favorite song and the music sees you. I wore my best outfit, black on black, layers but deliberate, hair freshly dyed, lips carefully outlined with the blunt end of a pencil eyeliner I'd melted under a lamp. In my bag, my homemade fanzine, folded perfectly. On my arm, a custom cloth patch I'd stitched myself. Mantilla, behind the veil. That was the name of the demo tape. If the gig went well, we'd hand them out. From the start, it was obvious the disco crowd wasn't going to give live metal a chance. There were bouncing balloons shouting over Rick Astley. The DJ kept spinning perky chart hits Lil Louis, Jive Bunny, Jason Donovan, all that saccharine, plastic noise. A room full of glitter hairspray and luminous bangles and cheap cologne. They didn't know what was coming. We did. Mantia was going to melt faces. I stood at the side of the hall, watching the band set up, watching the boys tune their instruments, watching Matthew wipe his palms on his jeans and glance toward the wings. I smiled. I waved. He gave me a nod. We were speaking volumes without saying a word again. A teacher stepped into the spotlight. You've all asked for it. And here they are. Countingdon's new kids on the block, Man Tyler. There was a lukewarm ripple of applause. Matthew wiped his hands on his jeans again. He opened with those blessed notes of one. Of course they did. It's not a party song. It's not fast. At first, it's not fun. It's a war story, a muted prayer, a scream inside a coffin. And yes, it's over 7 minutes long, but that was the point. That was the artistry. The crowd didn't fall silent. They didn't lean in. They just kept talking. Some rolled their eyes. A few mimed slow air guitar. Someone shouted, "Speed it up!" During the first verse, I saw the boys glancing at each other on stage, unsure, frowning. When the distortion hit and the tempo kicked up, it didn't help. The riffs turned jagged, the drums sharper, the vocals harsher, just as they were meant to. But it only pushed the crowd further away. Someone booed. Someone else shouted, "Get off!" They were nearly there. I knew they were nearly there. The giant riff was coming. That monstrous galloping da-da-da-da-da. Da, 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 da. The payoff, the release, the point. But the crowd didn't get it. They didn't know the structure. They didn't understand the build. They were bored. Someone threw a full, crisp packet. It landed harmlessly at the foot of the mic stand. I told myself it was an accident. Then a half-full cup of Panda Pop arced in from stage left, splattering the bass drum with pink fizz. Then came a shoe. Then some football boots. One hit the front of Matthew's amp and bounced into the crowd. The other struck the rhythm guitarist in the thigh. He flinched but kept playing. When an old leather basketball from the PE cupboard bounced on stage, I knew it wasn't going to stop. It hit the floor with a heavy thunk and rolled across the stage, right between the boys. Samuel caught it under his foot and kicked it back without missing a beat. The things hitting the stage weren't occasional anymore, they were constant. Balls of paper, crushed drinks cans, full bottles of pop, a plimsoll, someone's school bag, a full tin of beans from the food drive table. Who even brings that to a school dance? On stage, something changed. It didn't stop the boys. It willed them on. The last 2 minutes of one are pure thrash. Brutal, brutal, brutal. It's not a riff anymore. It's a haka. And they leaned into it. Hard. Vincent doubled his tempo, face shining with sweat and rage. Samuel hunched low, pounding every note like it was a challenge. And Matthew? God, Matthew! He planted his feet like a gunslinger in a desert storm and roared into the mic like it was the last thing he'd ever say. Darkness, imprisoning me, all that I see, absolute horror. They were standing in the wind and refusing to fall. And you know what? I thought they were going to win. They kept going. The noise swelled, faster, meaner, tighter, thrash as declaration, thrash as refusal, thrash As proof, they weren't backing down. They were playing through it. Through the projectiles, the insults, through the humiliation, through the silence of teachers who stood with their hands folded, waiting for it to end. And then, just like that, the song stops dead, just like on the record, and the hall was silent. Not the awed kind of silence, not reverence, just nothing. For too long. Then came the first shout. What was that supposed to be? Laughter, booing, everyone mocking, everyone pointing, everyone hating the best music they would ever hear in this miserable, bloody school. The sound of idiots devouring art. Matthew looked like he was going to laugh at first. His mouth twitched. For a moment, I thought he might cry, but then something shifted. His face went hard. Someone shouted from the back of the hall, "Play something we know!" Matthew stepped up to the mic and spat. "Something you know? What on earth do you know?" The heckler responded instantly. "Get off the stage. You're rubbish." He didn't flinch. He turned to the band. Nodded once. Then it hit. The opening riff of 2 minutes to midnight tore out across the hall like a rotary blade. Sharp, fast, furious. 2 guitars in tandem. A bass line like a snarl. The drum fill that followed sounded like a building being demolished. They resumed their positions. A wall of noise, shoulder to shoulder, facing the enemy. 2 guitars, 1 bass. 1 drummer behind them, arms already in motion. The intro surged toward the verse like a war machine. But they never got there. There was a loud pop, a dull whump behind the amps. Then a flicker of the room's lights. The distortion dropped out mid-riff. The guitars kept playing, but they sounded thin, naked, no weight, no bite, just jangling strings and the thud of the drums. They kept going, like maybe it would come back. It didn't. The PA had blown. Vincent slowed his beat before he stopped, slowly. Like his arms were giving up. The crowd did not relent. Pandemonium followed. They jeered louder, bellowed, picked up whatever they could find, and launched it again. Walls of dripping wet toilet paper, school bags, a chair. Then came the sports gear, tennis balls, the doll we all practiced CPR on. Shuttlecocks. A half-dozen hockey sticks clattered across the stage. Someone hurled a pair of gym pumps tied together by the laces. They caught on the neck of the bass guitar. A badminton racket sailed through the air and hit Matthew across the bridge of his nose. "Get off! You're rubbish! What a bunch of wankers!" Mantilla didn't bow, didn't thank the crowd. They just walked, heads down, everything unsaid. It was over. As soon as the band left the stage, I followed my bag of fanzines clutched in one hand like a backstage pass to a dream. My heart was racing. I could still feel the echoes of 2 minutes to midnight in my chest. To me, they were heroes, martyrs, warriors. They'd played through it all. I found them in the back room, sweaty, humiliated, shaking with adrenaline. I smiled, voice catching with excitement. That was the most metal thing I've ever seen. Everyone in the room turned. Samuel laughed, not kindly. William muttered, "Jesus Christ, under his breath. Matthew looked up. His face was blank for a second, then his features tightened. "What do you know about metal?" he said sharply. I froze. "I know you were brilliant. I know they didn't get it. But," he cut me off, "you don't know what you're talking about." He stood over me in a manner I'd never have imagined him capable of. "We're the only band you've ever seen," Samuel spat. "And you just ruined all that for us." "I didn't ruin anything. I helped," I said louder than I meant to. "I made flyers. I gave you tapes." Matthew stepped forward, mouth slag pointing at me like I was a body snatcher. "Oh, yeah. You helped with this. You own this. This is your fuck up. This is your mess," I protested, or tried to. "You thought what? That you were in the band? That this was some big break?" I looked at him, tried to find that boy from the practice room, the one who nodded through the glass, the one who made me smile. He wasn't there. That's when it happened. When he turned, I saw his light die. Matthew turned really nasty. Shaking me roughly by both shoulders, he bellowed into my face. "Do you think I'd ever like a girl like you?" he said with spit-flecked lips. "Even if you are the girl one in this whole school who listens to heavy metal." My eyes filled with tears. He continued regardless. "You're a joke, Sarah. And tonight you made Mantia look like a joke too." I couldn't speak. He had one more parting statement. "I am out of here." And then he left, just like that. The door clicked shut behind him. The rest of the band didn't follow. They didn't leave the room. And for what felt like forever, neither did I. Later, a teacher found me out by the bins. I'd wrapped myself in the banner I'd made for the band for the gig because my clothes were torn, my tights, my shirt. He didn't ask what had happened. No one ever did. I stayed home alone for over a week after the show. Nobody seemed to notice. Not my tutors, not my mother, not Matthew. Nobody. I returned to school for the final few days of term. Matthew and the rest of the year above me were meant to have a graduation ceremony, save for the tragic news that broke the night before I came back. A drink-driving accident. 3 boys from the graduating class had been killed in a high-speed, head-on collision out on the new bypass near Knox Farm. Vincent Fernier, Samuel Taylor, William Diaz, rest in peace. They had slipped behind the veil. Graduation was cancelled. In the school hall, obituaries were read aloud, tributes paid by classmates. Tears, crocodile and otherwise, spilled down cheeks that had never even spoken to them. 3 cheers for everyone. Just the same old show. That's all it was. Their names became canonized by the staff. Good boys taken too soon. The last time I saw Matthew was when he stood at the front of the hall and read If by Kipling to the entire school as a tribute to his tragic friends. His hair was cropped short, his tie perfectly straight. He looked every inch the golden boy. Only I knew different. All traces of Mantilla and their heavy metal history were expunged from all dialogue. 3 promising young men. Lives cut short. So much potential. And the crocodiles cry for the love of the crowd. As I listened to the platitudes and watched them weep for those 3 imaginary boys, I realized something awful. They hate you in life. They only miss you when you're gone. The evil that men do lives on and on.